boardroom, maybe a farm, a horse stall, mucking it out. Ocean, the rich, the powerful, with control. The people society deems to be inconsequential. The Capitol building, the local Motel 6. God appears, and God sees us in the least expected places. This morning's gospel, we experience Philip telling Nathanael about Jesus of Nazareth. And Nathanael quips back to Philip, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" I pray that you and that I have the humility, that all of us can have this sense of humility as well as a sense of courage to be able to look beyond our own biases, our own prejudices, to see Jesus as Jesus so willingly and lovingly sees us before we even know that we've been seen and known. Oftentimes in my life, I can be too quick and I can be too fast to judge others. I think that all of us can be quick to judge each other based on so many different things today. Pick a thing. Garmin or Apple. We can judge each other about that. That's a very safe thing. But we can judge one another about so many different things today. What would life look like for us if we believed that God's image is truly planted within each of our souls? Our souls, where we're gathered on Facebook now, and we're excited to see our friends and hear the music and the readings and all the things, as well as the souls with whom we greatly and vastly disagree. What could we do as the church if we spent more time seeking God's face in one another? That doesn't mean that the corrective measures don't need to be taken. You know me, that doesn't mean that justice doesn't need to be done. Justice does need to be done in God's kingdom. That's part of God's love. Tomorrow we remember that the secular world even remembers the life and witness of Martin Luther King Jr. And I believe that what we experienced in Martin Luther King Jr. was the fact that he stood alongside with God for justice and for love bearing and to be present, to listen and to speak truth. I believe that he knew of God's unconditional love, and that as he witnessed that unconditional love, he wanted all to experience that, in particular, his black brethren and sisters of the day. In his stride toward freedom, his memoir of the Montgomery bus boycott, he wrote, "True peace is not merely the absence of tension, it's the presence of justice." His Strength and Love from 1963 sermon, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." His all too well-known letter from Birmingham jail in 1963, he wrote, "We know through painful experience that freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed." A little bit later, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." He met with students at a high school in Philadelphia in 1967, where he shared with them to be a bush, you can't be a tree. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be a sun, be a star. For it isn't by size that you win or fail. Be the best of whatever you are. Lastly, in his I've Been to the Mountaintop speech on April the 3rd, 1968, we've got some difficult days ahead, but it doesn't really matter with me now because I have been to the mountaintop. I've looked over, I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. God sees us. God knows us. God is with us. And in this season of Epiphany where we recognize God's manifestations, God's time of appearing to all God's creation, may we remember and may we know that we need to see God as we look out and as we see one another, as we stand for love and for freedom in knowing God and making God's love known, as we stand for justice. May we see with the eyes and the lips and the heart of God. Amen.